Sometimes life is about moving on because the rest of the world will. Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I am Adrian Fort, and we are here for another poetry discussion, which will appear, of course, in the poetry discussion playlist here on the channel, now careening towards 750 poetry discussions strong. The poem in question today is a very paradoxical poem, I think, known as The Widow's Lament in Springtime by William Carlos Williams, and it reads as such. Sorrow is my own yard where the new grass flames as it has flamed often before, but not with the cold fire that closes round me this year. 35 years I lived with my husband. The plum tree is white today with masses of flowers load the cherry branches and color some bushes yellow and some red. But the grief in my heart is stronger than they, for though they were my joy formerly, today I notice them and turn away forgetting. Today my son told me that in the meadows at the edge of the heavy woods in the distance he saw trees of white flowers. I feel that I would like to go there and fall into those flowers and sink into the marsh near them. Why do I say paradoxical with this poem? Well, life, one of the big sort of symbolism trees, if you will, in literature is life, the year, and the day all being correlated. So, the springtime is the youth of life. This is the morning in the day scale. So, if we are to go down here just real quick, the spring. Oh, what is going on there? Spring equals morning equals basically childhood. Then you have the summer, which equals the noonday, which equals the prime of your life. Then you have the fall, which equals the evening, which equals kind of reaping. Well, that's not fair because that is another fall term. The evening is the rest period of life, and then you have the winter, which is the night time, which is death. So rest period of life / retirement, right? You're sort of getting all that you worked for in the fall / the evening. So what we have here is this is the spring in this poem. It is the widow's lament in springtime. This is supposed to be morning and childhood. But we're talking about someone's death. So the speaker is left to deal with how the death of her lover feels in the springtime. The springtime is the time of mourning. The springtime is the time of childhood and potential, not the time of death. But our speaker here cannot get over that time of death. This is, I think, a stark reminder of how we have to take lessons in life, but not get stuck places in life. If our widow does not move past this death, learn from it, but move past it. If our widow does not move past this death, then soon enough she will be sinking into the marsh near all of those pretty white flowers. There's a lot of conjecture over how much our mental state can affect our health. Pretty much everyone agrees that it's an actuality. It is an actuality that if we are constantly down, if we are constantly down on ourselves, we will soon find ourselves in poor health. If we concentrate on death, if we concentrate on the death of our lover and how little we have to live for in their absence, soon enough we will find ourselves with them. Our speaker in this poem is presented a brand new spring. It is springtime, and our widow is lamenting. Now, is this unfair? Well, no, it's not unfair to be lamenting the death of your loved one, however long after they have gone. But what is your responsibility? Our speaker here mentions that she has a son. That son has lost his father. Would not that son prefer to keep his mother for quite some time after losing his father? I dare imply that he would. So, the interesting thing about that is it suggests the responsibility still carried by the mother in this poem. Responsibility is often represented by the summer. So, bookending where our speaker finds herself is the winter, which is death, but she finds herself in spring, reminded of her responsibilities in life by the presence of her son, which responsibility is represented by the summer. So we have our speaker here lamenting with something pulling from behind, the death of her lover, pulling her back into the winter, and the life of her child pulling her forward into the summer, pulling her forward into the noonday, pulling her forward into the prime of her life. It is an interesting poem on that level because the one thing we don't really have represented here thematically is the fall, the evening, the rest period of life, the retirement, which is ironic because probably we feel that our speaker is somewhere in those years. I don't think so. So where was there is a moment where she says something about 35 years I lived with my husband. Now, this poem was published, I believe, in 1922. So today, living with someone for 35 years might suggest that you are in your 60s because you got married at 30. This was not the case back then. This individual probably is in their 50s, right? 35, 45. Yeah. So if you got married at 18, you're in your 50s. That is likely the case with this individual, which would put her squarely in that fall evening rest period, retirement segment of life. So we have now. I say it's not represented in this poem. It's briefly represented. It is not represented in this poem. It is sort of pointed at in this poem by the fact that is likely where our speaker finds themselves. So A poem called The Widow's Lament in Springtime has all corners of the calendar represented. And what better a way could there be of telling us that you have to move forward? By representing the entire year here in this poem, we get the message, the stark message perhaps, that you have to move forward in life. That is all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.